side that showed the Anunnaki's position. It showed from their standpoint what this was, and I thought that that was a really it was a nice touch, and I really enjoyed that, and I thought that that would be a great thing to add if it works out, and if it comes to pass that happens.
So the latest book by Sitchin, you mentioned that is the end of day. Did this give you more information than you already had about the whole subject?
You know what? He's done an amazing life's work that's beyond my comprehension. The amount of information he's distilled and brought down and been able to put together is just astounding. A lot of the information is stuff that I've known. A lot of the information is stuff that he has correlated in the more recent years. That's extremely interesting. Whether it comes conclusively to an end, conclusively to any sort of end result, that's something that I guess only history will remain to be seen at the end. I found it very interesting, and one of the topics that interests me about the story and about our stories in particular is the worldwide and global nature of the story, and not just the isolated stories in Mesopotamia, the Mesopotamian area, the New World side of this, the South American ruins and remains, and the stories that split off and diverge in this wildly crazy tree of history from Egypt. It's just a simple observation is if you look at the step pyramids in ancient Mesopotamia, the step pyramids in South America, there's step pyramids in China, they all follow many of the same building design, they follow many of the same astronomical alignment design. It's kind of almost silly to think that there was not some sort of connection there between them.
So when you confront religious people, priests, reverends, with this knowledge, with this material, how do they react?
I've had many of these conversations with many different religious backgrounds, and I found to my curiosity that many of them will talk about it for a little while, up to a point.
Up to a point.
The minute you hit upon what I like to call the boundary lines, you hit upon the hard and fast contradictions that are written, they basically shut down on you and don't want to talk about it anymore. And they really, I've yet to run across some that will continue to discuss in an open-minded way what we're being presented with. Once we hit a certain point, they basically just shut down and don't want to talk about it, because now you're threatening the base of their principles, which to me, again, it's not really I'm not on the attack. I'm not trying to be controversial.
Communication.
It's to me it makes perfect sense, and it's not contradictory really in any way. If anything, it supports their belief.
So sitting in front of me, who?
Steve Roth, playing the role of Marduk.
Marduk. And who is Marduk?
Marduk, that is a very, very interesting question. And when I was first told about this film, a fellow actor said, "Did you ever hear anything about the Anunnaki?" And I thought it was Oriental food. But then he began to explain a lot of the story, and I was fascinated because it's something that I've always had a void in my life. Ever since I was 12 years old, I always thought, there has to be more to our creation. I just believe there was so much more, and the investigation I did for this film brought that to light. And I'm very pleased and honored to play somebody of the magnitude of Marduk.
Now you are interested in the subject of the Anunnaki, and did this getting to know about this knowledge, change your life in some way?
Yes, it did. I mean, it's enhanced a lot more of the information that I never knew about, and now having to read about it and collaborating certain beliefs that I had has enriched me. And, it's hard to explain. I mean, it's something that I'm not one to visit churches. I shied away for many years because of the commercialism behind it. I'm sorry to say, but that's how I feel. I feel a lot closer to the Creator just by sitting on a sunrise, for instance, or at the beach. The power of that magnitude that's out there is a lot closer to me in that fashion than going into a building or whatnot. But
what's your idea about the effect this movie, those three movies, will have on human society on this planet?
Well, being a very controversial theme, that Jon has written a magnificent story, it is going to enlighten people, some to a degree of even anger, because the human is a creature of habit by nature. You learn one set of rules and you say, that's fine, I can live with that, I'm fine with that. And when things come to where there may be more information that disrupts that normal trend, they don't take it good. We don't take it good. We like to know that everything is in its place. And this film is definitely something that's going to be very controversial, to give you more information about, well, what if? What if it wasn't the way it was written? Now, for instance, you give an example that the Vatican will feel this very controversial and will put their 2 cents in the way they did with the Da Vinci Code, because they have certain beliefs, and this is disrupting those beliefs. Now, I believe that we only know the story of Christ on 2,000 years ago, or whatever that was. But what happens before that? Hundreds of thousands of years ago, leading up to that event.
Yes.
So that is what's going to bring the people into a different mindset to say, well, okay, that's plausible, or it's not plausible, I don't want to hear about it.
If you would try to describe the character of Marduk, what is his role, what is his action in this movie? What is he doing?
Well, based upon what I've read, and obviously it was when I first got the script, it was magnificently well written. And I had to base myself on the words that were written, because I had no idea how to play a god of that magnitude. This is a person or a being that had tremendous beliefs, and people that back in that era believed that he was such a superior being. How do you play somebody like that? You feel small by description. So I used the words of what was described about him, and in my own investigation of the backstories that led up to how the Babylonians and the Sumerians thought of him. He was like the creator to the modern man today, like Jesus Christ would be for the modern religions today. So it was a very difficult role, quite honestly, and I had trouble at the beginning until I began to understand how a person like that or an entity like that would want to be portrayed as.